Good morning. On behalf of the KCA Safety Committee, I would like to welcome today's guest, Ryan Parrish.
How you doing?
He, how you doing? He is a representative for Pennsylvania One Call, and today he will review the current changes in 811 Act 124. Thanks for being here, Ryan, and I will let you take the stage.
All right, thank you, Seth. Like I said, I'm a damage prevention liaison with Pennsylvania 811. I cover Berks, Lehigh, Northampton, and Schuylkill. So I'm just gonna briefly show. We had some changes to the one call law, but if you ever have any general questions about the one call law, just feel free to give me a call. You can always reach out to me if you want to. And how you generally access this, you go to our website, a1call.org. If you have an account, you should be able to access it without having an account, but you always want to have a PA1 call account so you can get access to our applications. And you go all the way down to the bottom to PA Act 287, which will be the new law as amended on here. And throughout this law, a couple times you'll hear me mention trenchless technology. That's one of the new definitions for cross boring. So anytime you're going to be referring to cross boring, you want to know the best practices for cross boring. You can go to the Common Ground Alliances. That's in the one called law. We now reference the Common Ground Alliance when we're talking about trenchless technology and cross boring. So that would be right here. Also, it'll bring you to the best practices guide, and you can just search up all this information about trenchless technology. And this has a lot of 811 resources also. So highlighting the 811 law, obviously, there's nothing changes about the general act of PA1 call using powered equipment. Call 811 before you dig. Some changes that have been added, or some new things that have been added, especially with alleged violation reports, means when a alleged violation by action or inaction is alleged to have failed to fulfill the obligation of the act. That's highlighted in bold. That was added to the one call law. Necessarily changes generally in section 1. They added a damage prevention investigator, so now you know who's actually doing investigations if something were to happen with the 811 law. That's the damage prevention investigator. Means an employee of the commission tasked with reviewing and investigating an alleged violation reported to the commission under section 210.48, designer law, excavation law, facility owner law. That's what those subsections are. And offering recommendations to the committee to address the alleged violation in the form of a warning letter, administrative penalty, or participation in education programs established by the commission. So when they say the education programs, they may find you guys, or they may make you come to one of our educational classes to get a better understanding of the 811 law. Drawing was now added to the 811. A law, the definition of drawing means a type of technical plan that shows information about existing and proposed underground facilities, grading, landscapes. This is generally your design information. If you guys are going to be doing a drawing, you want to know exactly where these utilities are before you kick it over to the excavator. And if you're an excavator listening in, these drawings should know exactly where these utility crossings are. If you're reading them, you shouldn't be confused when you guys are at the job site comparing what you see out in the field to what you have on the plans. A little quick change to the emergency definition. Emergency means a sudden or unforeseen occurrence involving a clear immediate danger to life, property, and they added 4 of the environment, including not limited to serious breaks or defects in a facility owner's lines. So little changes with the emergency one calls, which I will talk about this when they get into that section. You now can get fined for misrepresenting the emergency one calls. We take every type of emergency one call. We will actually read this definition if you're trying to call an emergency. We're going to ask you if there's a sudden or unforeseen occurrence involving clear immediate danger to life. So if you're installing a tree, installing a fence, doing something like just planting some holes maybe for your garden, that's not an emergency. So if you're trying to place an emergency for that reason, you can get fined now. Excavation work, this is generally still the same definition. They added dredging to the excavation work, so I know that changes some for people doing paving and all that good stuff. Dredging is now part of excavation work, so please place a PA1 call if you're planning on doing some dredging. Moving along with the one call law, injury means a bodily harm or person, a bodily harm to a person who, as a result of bodily harm, immediately receives medical attention at a healthcare facility. So anytime there's an injury involved, as soon as the PUC sees an injury, they have to kick that over to, I believe, OSHA and whoever handles the injury side of things so they can do their investigation, especially when there's an injury involved. So now they actually clarify what an injury means. The lawful start date and line still the same. Locate requests, whether you're calling in or just doing a notification through the one call system using one of our applications. That's why they added or notification. And if you have any questions, feel free to always shoot me email, give me a call, and we always discuss any of these one call changes further. A sketch. Sketch is a little different from drawing. You're going to do a sketch before you do your drawing, especially some townships because of the amount of damage that they had to their townships. Sometimes they require permits. So they're going to want to have a general idea of what you're doing. So maybe they want a little sketch of what you're planning on excavating. So you do a sketch of that general area just to receive your permits. But again, once you're going to get close to that excavation site, you're still required to do that PA one call final design, which is going to be accompany that drawing that you have. So sketch is just generally for permitting purposes, not solely or specifically applicable to design requirements. Again, you do those design requirements, you're going to have to be able to step through that suit process if those design that you get aren't that great or the paper records are faded or pretty terrible. So again, sketch is just for permitting reasons. When you get to the design side, make sure you have your drawings ready. And like I said, trenchless technology, if you want to learn more about trenchless technology and cross boring, scroll right back up to here, go to that Common Ground Alliance's best practices right here. That's on our website, the Common Ground Alliance, CGA. That's where you'll find that information about trenchless technology. And a violation, anytime somebody does something to fail the obligations of PA Act 287 as amended, so they actually what a violation means. It's an instance where it has been determined by the commission that a person by action or inaction fails to fulfill the obligation of the act. Whether you don't respond to one call, damage something, don't use prudent technologies, wherever it is that they feel that they determine as a violation. Some responsibilities of a facility owner. Some facility owners may not be able to locate their facilities on or before, especially with abandoned facilities. If you have records of abandoned facilities, please provide that with you. You may not have records of those abandoned facilities prior to 2018, so maybe you want to go to the job site and actually work with that excavator, especially if you have an idea if there is some abandoned facilities. But if you have records of that, after 2018, the one call law requires you to please attach that information with your regular facility plans that you're sending to the excavator. Member mapping information, they're just specifying, make sure you have your member mapping information correct. It's a requirement to pay a one call system. You want that information to be correct because that's going to let you know where these excavators are going to be digging. If your information is correct, they could be digging down around a facility that you may not get notified now because your mapping is incorrect. So make sure your mapping is correct so you get notified when people are digging around your utilities. One called all facility owners are obviously supposed to locate their facilities. You should make reasonable effort during the excavation phase to locate or notify the excavator of assistance of any known or abandoned facilities. So again, they're highlighting those abandoned facilities. We want all utilities to be located in that vicinity. If you can locate it, even there's a Good Samaritan clause. Facility owners, you're supposed to mark what you own, but if you have an idea where that main's going onto that person's property, you can put some helpful arrows just to help that excavator out. And if the excavator were to damage something, you're not going to be held responsible because you marked what you own and you just put some arrows down as a helpful guide to help that excavator. They should expose that utility and make sure they're using prudent techniques. So again, mark what you own. And if you have an idea where that utility is going off what you own, off that main, you can put some indicators just to be just as a helpful guide for that excavator. And again, on-call law change, they want you guys, they now put it in the law that you're supposed to document communications between the facility owners and excavators to ensure the excavator is aware of facility owners' inability to locate its facilities. Again, going from that PUC, the commission, they want as much information as possible, as much documentation as possible to document every issue along the way of your excavation project. Again, enter all timely responsive final locate requests. You get your notification on your ticket when you're supposed to respond to these PA1 calls by. It says it on the ticket. So as facility owners, you know exactly when you're supposed to enter your final responses. To comply with all requests for information by the commission related to the commission's enforcement authority under the act within 30 days of receipt. If they send a letter for information, if they send you any type of request, the PUC, do not ignore that request. Please comply, reply back to her. You're disputing that request. Please dispute that request within 30 days. They can fine you guys for not responding to their letters. Again, it doesn't matter who you are, any violation, it's across the board now. You have 30 days to submit these alleged violation reports and respond to these violations. Doesn't matter if you're a designer, excavator, facility owner, it's now across the board. 30 days. Again, we're just highlighting the changes. If you want a more depth of the one call law, feel free to give me a call. We can go through everything step by step, but these are just the PA one call changes. And for the engineering design side, make sure to submit a design notification through the one call system when a design drawing is completed. We have drawing exchange, we have our call system, we have our final responses. It's the communication back between the facility owner, the designer, the excavator, and the one call system. Submit those notifications through that one call system. Timely respond to the notifications received from the excavator in accordance with Section 15 excavator law. Inform the project owner of the project owner's duties under Section 15 and under Section 6 to comply with all requests for information by the commission related to the commission's enforcement authority under the act within 30 days of written receipt. Remember, 30 days. Some more responsibilities to depict lines of facilities within appropriate quality levels of SIL. Again, for the design side, this is just highlighting, hey, designers, I get these paper records that may not be that great from the facility owner. I need to be able to step through this SIL process to figure out exactly where these utilities are. And the SIL process is labeled exactly how I'm supposed to do that in the American Society of Civil Engineers, the ASCE. That's like their handbook, the engineering handbook. So they're going to make sure they're going to comply with that. And they're going to make sure they're complying with the PA1 called law. But again, if they get paper records that aren't that good, they should be stepping through this SIL process to figure out exactly where these utilities are before they kick it over to the excavator so they can do the excavation work. We don't want excavators finding utility crossings during the excavation phase. We want these utility crossings to be found during the design side. And in the event as-built are required, we're going to be sending these as-built in based on the ASCE 75. That's the design standards. So if they have in the event that as-built are required, they're going to be in accordance of that ASCE 75. Some responsibilities of the excavator to submit a locate request to identify exactly where these utilities are. If using trenchless technology at a minimum, please reference that Common Ground Alliance that I showed you at the top of the page, or you go to commongroundalliance.com. You can download the rule book. You can request have them send you a hard copy of the Common Ground Alliance. You may have to pay for it, but again, I think to download it, it's free. Just download that information, print it out, and now you have your own reference of the CGA book. And again, if excavators, if they cannot find any utilities, we want these excavators to go back to this project owner to find out exactly where these utilities are. So they're saying, hey, I need to go back to the project owner and get more funds to get a vac truck out here, because the facility owners, they gave me their plans. They did their design information. I'm still not that confident that I can excavate without damaging something. I need to go back to you to get more funding to figure out where this are. If something were to get damaged, there will be under investigation under the PUC. And to submit any alleged violation report, something gets damaged, something goes wrong. It doesn't matter if you're an excavator, designer, facility owner, you have a project owner, you have 30 days to submit this alleged violation report. 30 days across the board now for that also, submitting alleged violation report. Emergency one calls that come in, if you have to request or re-notify emergency one call, you can do that in the one call law. However, if you do that emergency one call request, that goes out as the emergency to begin with. They're going to get that PA one call. They're going to know how to respond to that emergency. They're going to respond as soon as practical. They're hopefully going to give a response to that emergency that comes in within 2 hours. If not, that request is going to come out to the excavator that nobody responded within 2 hours. And then they need to actually wait and make sure they have somebody come out before they start digging into the ground, especially with emergency one calls. If they have something flying out of the ground, water's flying out of the ground, obviously you cannot wait. Use prudent techniques to make sure you guys can stop that emergency. Again, if you're abusing that emergency one call system, you're just trying to get emergency one call out there just so you can have fast markings onto the ground, that's a violation of PA, our new one call law, and you can get fined for that. It says right here, not provide misrepresentation of emergency excavation, and this can be subject to administrative penalty. And excavators, do not piggyback off other excavators' excavation tickets. If you're the one doing the excavation, you need to submit that PA one call. The excavator should have sole responsibility to submit each locate request to the one call system. Do not piggyback off of anybody's one call, especially subcontractors. Subcontractors, if you're digging in the ground, place your own PA one call. Do not piggyback off that main excavator's ticket. And responsibility to the project owner. Provisions in any contract, timely respond to notifications received by excavators pursuant to the excavation law. Obviously, we have to respond to any of those PA1 calls that come in, even from the excavator, the project owner. That's all this law is reiterating. To submit a report or alleged violation report through the one call system, again, within 30 days. Doesn't matter who you are, it's now 30 days to submit that alleged violation report. And to comply with all requests for information by the commission related to the commission's enforcement authority. So if they want to do an investigation, they're asking you to see the plans that you submitted or any information that you submitted, and you don't think you have anything to do with this damage, and you ignore them, you can get fined. So please don't ignore anything. Send them the information, officially dispute what they're saying, and then go through that process. See if there's anything else. Enforcement. This is talking about being on the PA1 call committee. So if you're not going to be part of the PA1 committee, be on the board, you don't have to necessarily know too much about this information. This is saying we have 2 representatives of the facility owner under the clause that will serve for 3 years. So each committee member has a certain amount of term that they're allowed to serve for. And each committee members are somebody from the facility owner side, the excavation side, the design side. So whenever there's an investigation, we actually have a fair shake from each side of the facility owners. So nobody's getting bullied and nobody's getting kind of, it's not one-sided. Everybody has a fair shake. This is saying issue informal determination that dismisses the recommendations to the damage prevention committee. Again, this is about the committee information. See if there's anything else that you guys need to know. This is probably the last major change. Any person or entity violating this act must pay administrative. So every time you guys get fined from the PA1 call, or not from PA1 call, you get fined from the PUC. If you don't pay this fine after 60 days, you can get fined $100 each day until it's going to reach that max total of $5,000 for administrative penalty not paid within that period specified under paragraph 2, which is 60 days. Again, doesn't matter. Any violation, if you don't respond to it, don't respond to their letters, they're going to eventually fine you each $100 each day until you respond to it, until you pay that penalty, until you went to the educational class, whatever they assign to you, whatever letter they sent to you, please respond to it. Please go to the educational sessions, because if not, they're going to fine you $100 each day until they reach $5,000, and they're going to be licking their lips because they get to get $5,000 from you guys. And this law shall expire December 31st in 2031. So this law will stay intact until 2031. So if you have any changes, just email me any changes that you want, and hopefully I can send it over to the legislative team so they can take a look at that and hopefully get this in the new law after 2031. So Seth, that's all I got for the new law.
Well, great. I appreciate you sharing your expertise on this. And thanks again, Ryan. If any listeners have questions, please reach out to Ryan, or you can reach out to Keystone Contractors Association and we can get you in touch with them. And again, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.